It's a very pleasant welcome to the podium. Today is Thursday, the 28th of May, 2026. We are back right after the holiday break. It's a pleasant welcome to this edition. We start with our quote of the day, and it's from Deepak Chopra, an internationally renowned author, and it says, always go with your passions. Never ask yourself if it's realistic or not. In this edition, we shall be speaking to the Deputy Director of Public Education and Outreach at the SCC on the current controversy within the University of Sierra Leone, a report issued by the ACC. As Sierra Leone faces international scandal on transshipment of drugs, we shall be speaking to a policy analyst on Sierra Leone Medical and Dental Association to conduct its mid-year congress. All these issues and more, including your messages, which you can send to our Facebook page at slbc.sl on 030073719. It's a podium. Welcome back to the podium. You can be part of our conversation. You can send in a comment to our Facebook page at slbc.sl or through 030073719. I want to welcome Sylvanus Blake, who is the Deputy Director of Public Education and Outreach at the ACC. Good afternoon, Mr. Blake. Welcome to the podium, sir.
Good afternoon, Salma, and good afternoon to our viewers.
Okay, so we have been getting, your institution to talk on these latest reports in relation to your findings and recommendations to the University of Sierra Leone. Officially, the University of Sierra Leone has also reacted to a press conference and several demands we are making. In the first place, let's get an idea of the report, maybe for somebody for the first time listening to these investigations, and later we'll be looking at for what you make of some of the issues raised by the university.
Thank you so much. So, to start with, the University of Sierra Leone, as a public institution, it is providing very critical services for the people of this country. And we at the ACC have a broader mandate to ensure public institutions continue to perform in an upward trend. By that I mean delivering services in a better way. So Section 7.1 is clear that we can recommend best practices. So the report that has been very topical over the period has to do with some investigation that the Commission carried out that covered 2021 to 2023, that emanated from some internal investigation that the university itself did, and that the outcome of those investigations or internal reviews were subject matters of public discussion. It attracted our attention because the issues highlighted in the report that came from within the University of Sierra Leone were very critical to the proper functioning of that university, and so we were interested. So we commenced a more detailed criminal-led investigation, and the public will agree with me that every time the Commission chooses to do an investigation, the primary objective is to establish whether the crime, corruption, has been committed, and whether we can be able to appropriate the commission of the offense, corruption, to certain individuals and hold them accountable. When that does happen, we hold people accountable by charging to court through an indictment, or we go for the out-of-court non-conviction based asset recovery, which is equally a way of saying that you've committed the act, but pay back the money, and then we ban such persons from holding public office.
Just before you continue, was your investigation on the basis of a case being reported to you, or it attracted the commission that it's of a public interest, like you mentioned, they receive public funds?
So once they report, I mean, because like, wow, the subject matter of the report was discussed in media, So we follow in the media, we learned it, and we reached out to the university to support us with their investigation report, which they actually did, and that is when we commenced our criminal-led investigation. But like we do in every investigation, if you cannot establish crime, to wit, corruption, but then you've unraveled other administrative malfeasances or administrative gaps and lapses that could have undermine the efficacy of public institutions, we will, and I'd always relied on Section 7.1 to proffer recommendations to those already identified administrative malfeasances or lapses. So in this instant case, and dealing with the subject matter of this report particularly, that is the route we took. Our investigation did not establish any straightforward corruption allegation against anybody. But our investigation found out a lot of issues, about 6 of them, maybe we'll go through them, that are very sensitive, that will as well undermine how effectively the University of Sierra Leone, with her constituent campuses or colleges, will continue to function effectively. So we did what we often do, which is an administrative letter to the administration of the University of Sierra Leone, telling them that this and this and these are what we found out. We believe these are critical administrative lapses, and then we recommended what they should be doing. At this stage, it's safe to say, and I want to be very emphatic, that the investigation was not about a specific person. For instance, the person of the Minister of Technical and Higher Education. No. The investigation had to do with the University of Sierra Leone. We spoke to people, because every office that was questioned in the internal report, we are manned by people. And so we know these people, we could identify them, and we went for them strictly. They spoke to us. We are able to uncover many pieces of evidence, and all of those things put together gave us the affirmative position that we have today, which is not going to change, which is a professional position. So the findings, which are not a corruption allegation at this stage, are very straightforward. And positively, I've read severally the report from the University of Sierra Leone. Each and every one of those findings, they agreed with. Let's begin with, for example, the issue of the business center. Our investigation found out that in creating the business center, the University of Sierra Leone created a private company limited by guarantee and gave it a board. And on that board, we had the vice chancellor, the registrar, the finance director. So when the board meets, it's not meeting as University of Sierra Leone. It is though you can agree with me that members of the board are critical role players in the University of Sierra Leone, but they are equally constituted as a board. And in private companies, it is the board that takes decision. It is the board. So the board directs the affairs of private companies. And if that company undertakes a procurement, it is not visible. You cannot fault them criminally if they don't go by Public Procurement Act, because what they are administering is a private company. It is like attempting to say Mohammed Gento Kabara and his Gento group of companies, just for convenience sake, should go by Public Procurement Act when they procure all their heavy machineries and earth-moving equipment. It doesn't have a leg to stand on. That's a private company. In as much as the company was created by a public institution, but the creature is a private company. That is one germane issue. And so we recommended that if the university want to have overreaching control over this business center, bring it back under the university. By one, disbanding the board, and then having a kind of a business department or corporate affairs department in the university, and then the University Act and all these other policies can directly be used in its day-to-day activities. But private companies, it is the board. So that's one critical thing. And the university said they technically agreed with us. That's an agreement. I mean, we are giving technical opinion because we are professionals, not spiritual or social. And then secondly, on the issue of the procurement of the vehicles, they procured 4 vehicles. It was the board that took the decision that the business center should procure 4 vehicles. We as professionals are not going into whether they needed a vehicle or not. Whether did they get permission to procure 4 vehicles? Who should give a private company directives? It's the board of directors. That is why they call them board of directors. When they meet, when the board meets and take decisions, it is incumbent on the executive of the business center to carry through those decisions. And the board met, they took a decision to procure those vehicles, and the vehicles were procured. And in fact, the cap the board gave, they procured the vehicles below that cap by way of financial implications. As professionals, that's what you are looking at. Before you now come to say, oh, did they go by MPPA policy? Did they fraud procurement irregularities? Were they even bound by public procurement policies? That's the first question. Because when you choose to charge to court, we've always said the evidential burden is on you. Come to the issue of, they agree with that too. Come to the issue of the research grants. In their report, and I'm happy the director of communications at the university, who is actually my senior from the government secondary school in Kenema, Dr. Tonya Musa, has stated, I've been following them, I've stated, we've even met on other platforms, that they are not in any controversy with the ACC. But again, they agreed that the university do not have a standalone policy on the management of research grants. That is one of our findings and our recommendations. So, why do we need a standalone policy on research grant management? One, there is what you call overhead cost that goes directly to the university. It ranges between 5% to 25%. Depending on the face value or the budget value of a research. Some research can go on to $100,000. If you have 20% of that, it's $20,000. That's no small money. The university needs it. The moment that percentage is couched in a research that this is overhead cost, it becomes public money. And so we require a standalone policy. Because out of the 17 grants we monitored, it is only one that the project head or the research head left and moved. And we are now saying, what if there comes a time when 10 research heads moved and the 10 research are moved? What happens to the overhead? And we now monitored, they even showed us during our investigation, infrastructural development that the university has been doing with these overhead costs. So we said, no, have a standalone policy. They agreed. The issue of the finance director, 6.5 million new loans. This issue had been addressed before by Audit Service Sierra Leone. ACC too had done some investigations around that. We now told the university in our findings and recommendation, in the future, first and foremost, there is nothing wrong for the university to do its own internal investigation. Introspections are good. It's like you want to save a stitch in time, they say saves 10. You want to do it early. But what we have urged them and reminded them of, that in doing those internal investigations, fairness should not be compromised. Reasonability. I mean, it's a golden rule. The author pattern. The other party must be heard, must be given the opportunity to be heard. And hearing the other side requires time. You cannot question me in 2 hours and you conclude. What if I say, okay, let me get back to you on this, let me get back to you on this? That is why liberal and fair investigations always take time. So we told them, in the future, take some time in doing these investigations. And then secondly, where you are investigating an issue that has been addressed by other statutory authorities whose mandates are even stronger in that jurisdiction, you have to reference their standings.
And in this case, it was not referenced.
We were not referenced. All this service was not referenced, ACC was not referenced. So these are the issues. And if you read paragraph by paragraph, their response, they agreed with all 6. I mean, we can all read some English. They agreed. But then now, for whatever reasons, they demanded an apology.
They demanded an apology.
Which can never come from us. We don't apologize. We have never done it.
On which basis is the university asking for an apology?
They can answer that question because they've agreed with almost everything we've said. And we believe these things are not said to fault the administration, to criminalize anybody, to vindicate anybody. They are said in the best interest of making University of Sierra Leone better. You can agree there is a problem at the university. That problem did not start today. Issues around the way the university court was, whatever happened to it, whether it was disbanded, dissolved. If there is a policy that has said, this is how you empanel the court, and this is their tenure, and this is how they should be disengaged. We have said, recommendation number 6 from the ACC, follow policies, follow the University Act. Don't correct wrong by being hasty.
Okay, one individual that has come out, very clearly and explain, give a context to this whole thing, has to is an academic staff, to James Tambalebi. We had an interview with him, and he referenced for him this whole issue of business center, even the internal investigation onto the dissolving of the court has to do with a personal vendetta when this current Minister of Technical Higher Education was serving as lecturer at Commerce. Did you also uncover that the minister is also, like remote controlling the university as a result of wanting to pick, hard scores with a lot of people while she was also a lecturer at Commerce?
So this is one of the areas where we have been very careful in trying to draw the line between what we do as a professional institution and what other people do, and some sentiment, some existing misunderstanding or emotional issues. It is safe to say at this stage that the University of Sierra Leone has had its own issues. Those ones that have to deal with corruption and their performance is what concerns us. We did not investigate the Minister of Technical and Higher Education, and nothing in that report is accusing the minister of any wrongdoing. We stated clearly, we brought out an issue of undue interference in the report. And this is because we are aware that it is the Ministry of Higher and Technical Education that should supervise. And we have found out several breaches or overreach in the way this whole scenario has been.
So where is this undue interference coming from?
So for example, if you are supervising an institution like the University of Sierra Leone and it doesn't have a policy on research grant management, reasonably this should be picked up by a supervisor. And the university court has been, whatever happened, has been removed in an unprocedural way. You shouldn't wait for an investigation to pick this up. If and only if you had wanted to pick it up, you could have picked it up and then worked on it. But once we mentioned interference, it became no longer the Ministry of Technical Higher and Technical Education. Some people took it to be the minister. But this is a caution.
Who is the political head of that ministry?
Thank you. And every ministry has technicians who stay. Who are that? Anybody can become a Minister of Technical Higher Education today. But we look at institutions holistically. For example, Ministry of Basic Education. There are directorates that handle many things. And these directorates are technical persons. In the Technical Education Ministry too, there are specific heads, professional heads, who are directly relating with these universities. It begs the question, let us pay attention to some of these internal dynamics because they are becoming a concern. If a university court can be dealt with the way that one was dealt with, without regard to due process, then that's a concern. So this is the level of interference that we said should better be directed at helping the university function properly rather than entrenching the already existing problem. It is no vindication, and some people have run to town with the report to say they've been vindicated. That is the content of the report. If there is no corruption, you can't say there is corruption.
But the director of communications at the university saying those individuals should not even parade around that they have been vindicated.
Maybe he can find a way to put restrictions on them. But we have said we did not find any reason to charge anybody to court.
So they should celebrate.
We don't tell people to celebrate.
No, they should celebrate.
If they choose to. They were investigated. People were investigated.
But the university is saying there is nothing to celebrate because their own report is saying something else.
Well, when it comes to corruption, it's not the University of Sierra Leone's report that should say it all. I mean, let's respect jurisdictions. We are the most competent, the most and only competent authority. I would say with some level of pride, not being a bit boisterous, that has the authority to determine what is corruption and who has done it. If we have come out with a report and we stand by it and they have agreed, I've told you, you can read their report and read ours. They've agreed with all 6 of what we have said and there are some issues that they have, fine. But they have to commit themselves and working with us to change some of these dynamics. And this should be it. We cannot publish a report. It was an administrative letter. When we want to do other public information, we do press and public notices. This one we sent to them. However it went out is not a concern to us because it's meant for public consumption.
Now that the university is calling for an apology and you as a spokesperson is saying that is not even forthcoming, will that also, are we not seeing a future strained relationship between the university and the SSC?
No.
Because it appears as if they're actually damning your report, questioning even how you arrive at the findings and the conclusions.
They really have no option. You don't need to accept your test result. If you have malaria, you have malaria. You either take medicine or the malaria hits you very hard. So this is what professionals do, right? We are not being sarcastic. We are not being despiteful. We cannot. That is why we even have said that there is no corruption in the first place. That's not to please anybody. That's because there's no corruption. And that is why we've come to say there are many issues, administrative, and they are undermining the effectiveness of what the university is doing.
Is this a call for the ACC to further do a thorough investigation on the university?
Every investigation,
latest development.
Every investigation at the ACC is thorough. This file has closed until and unless there is another emerging issue on the content of this file. That does not mean that this is the only file we are handling.
Are there emerging issues that likely you are going to?
I will certainly say there are other issues that have to do with universities and especially University of Sierra Leone. And we'll come to those.
Okay, continue to be with us. Let's move on now to another issue on the Sierra Medical and Dental Association. They are having their Media Congress 2026, and for more on that we have Dr. Sabori, Public Relations Officer of the Sierra Medical and Dental Association. Good afternoon, Doctor. Welcome to the program, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, so give us an idea about this year's, Media Congress.
Yes, so this year Media Congress is going to take place in Kenema District. The theme of this year's Media Congress is the role of health professionals in achieving the zero preventable maternal and child death in Sierra Leone. That theme was chosen on the background because we want to also corroborate what government is doing. At the moment, we know in March 2nd this year, the president and the minister launched what is called the triple elimination. So there was a zero. So the aim was to prevent zero maternal death and also zero child mortality and zero dose children. So we as an association, the top medical association in the country, thought it fit that this is something we also have to, work with government and pass on this message, to the whole country. But of course, we are going to have symposiums in Kenema where people will talk about these things. We have a plan in which we are going to roll out this program. So, but before the Media Congress, because the Media Congress is going to be on Saturday, the first Saturday in June, Saturday 6th of June, is going to be the Media Congress in Douala, in Kenema District. But before that, we have an outreach, a medical outreach. So in that outreach, we are going to have all aspects of our medical practitioners in the country. So spanning in from those that are in family medicine and internal medicine, those in surgery, pediatrics, as well as obstetric and gynecology. We are all going to converge in Kenema districts in June on the 5th, which is Friday, to do a medical outreach. That outreach is going to cover surgeries. So we are aiming at doing about 250 free surgeries. So these 250 free surgeries include general surgery, ophthalmology, as well as dental surgeries. These are all going to be free of charge. We're also going to do consults, surgical consults for patients out there in the community. So we are going to the community, not just to the hospital, but into the community as well. So for family medicine and internal medicine, we are going to do non-communicable diseases screening. So diabetes, hypertension, and other non-communicable diseases, we are going to screen for them. And some people are going to benefit, hopefully, from some of the medical equipment that we use, like the glucometer to check random blood sugar, for those that have diabetes, as well as blood pressure machine. So we are aiming at having like 25 to 50 people benefiting from those. So we are going to look at those that really need them. We're also going to have a dermatologist. I'm quite sure there is none up there in Kenema district. So dermatologist is a doctor that is specialized in skin conditions and skin diseases. So we're going to bring one to Kenema, and we're going to go not only in the hospital, as I said, into the community to see people in the community, advise them, do consultation for them, and if possible, also offer some treatment for them. We're also going to do cardiology screening. So for those with heart conditions, those with heart failure, hypertension, and all, we're going to bring specialists from Freetown. So top specialists in cardiology in Sierra Leone are going to be down in Kenema. We're also going to do echocardiography, which is a scan that we do for the heart, to assess the structure as well as the function of the heart. So that's also going to be done free of charge. These are things that people pay huge sum of money for, but we are going to do those screening free of charge for them. We're also going to have STI screenings. So some of the common sexually transmitted infections, we are also going to screen for. And for children, because as we are saying, we want to prevent child death, zero preventable child death. We are also going to screen children in the communities. So we are aiming at about 200 to 250 children. We are going to do nutritional screening, checking these children to see who their nutritional status, to see, because, malnutrition is a big risk for children dying. So these are things we want to go into the community and see how we can tackle them in there in the community rather than waiting for them to come to the hospital. We're also going to do immunization screening. So we are going to be looking at their cards, talking to parents about immunization, because it's been reported that we still have zero dose. Zero dose simply means there are children who have not received vaccine. So you can still imagine that in this century, in this day and age, we still have children not receiving vaccines. So these are things we want to go out to check for and see how we can also help governments, achieve what should be achieved in those areas. We're also going to screen for common childhood illnesses like malaria, which is of course very common, pneumonia, and the likes.
So you have so much, on your plate. So let's talk about the days. How long will this take?
Yeah, so it's going to last the outreach is going to be for 2 days. For a day. Initially we wanted to do 2 days, but because of the work, we have to, most of the people going down for the outreach are working here in Freetown, station here in Freetown, and then it's been difficult to go up to Kenema for a couple of days. So bring it down to 1 day. So Friday the 5th will be the outreach. We are going to have some people going to the community and some in the hospital. Yes.
So let's talk around the theme, the role of medical practitioners in achieving zero maternal child death. What has been the challenge in achieving this? Because the triple elimination is saying zero, and we're yet to achieve that.
Yeah. Thank you. There's been a lot of challenges on the side of us healthcare workers. Us also on the side of some of the interventions that have been going on, and also on the side of the community. So one of the challenges is that in the community, there are a lot of what we call barriers to seeking healthcare. So some people are coming to the hospital late. Some people are not even aware of what the hospitals or healthcare workers are actually providing. So we want to go into this community and, you know, allay their fears about hospitals, you know, about health system in the country, and see how we can also meet them before they fall ill and come to the hospital. So we are really looking at community engagement, passing on our key message to the people in this outreach that we are doing.
Okay, continue to be with us, Dr. Sabori, Public Relations Officer of the Cellular Medical and Dental Association. Let's take our lead headlines this afternoon. Hearing, like I told you, I'll be speaking to a colleague who is also a TV host and a business consultant, Monko S. Bangura. We are looking at, he has been one of the individuals in this country that has been, you know, providing analysis on what many people think it's a worrying situation. Beside the internal struggling on how, you know, government is responding to drug-related issues, internationally, said is also struggling with image building at this time in relation to, you know, the recent interception of a ship suspected, you know, of carrying cocaine. At a press conference, the ONS has made their position known. But I want to welcome again Molko Esval. Molko, good afternoon. Welcome to the program, sir.
Yes, good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Okay, so you have been, you know, discussing this for the longest of time, even before what is currently happening. We struggle internally on how, you know, drug-related issues, and internationally, again, we are struggling. What could be responsible for this in your own estimation?
Yeah, thank you. That's a overloaded question. But yes, I think for every Sierra Leonean will agree with me that the issue of drug is something that is affecting every home. I mean, one way or the other. I mean, we see how, for instance, the synthetic kush that is out there and how it's affecting, you know, basically every household. You go to the slums, you go to places like Funkia, you go to places like, you know, Kingtown here. You see young boys living like zombies, young girls living like zombies. You know, people are dying on the streets, and so drugs have become like a touchy subject. Everybody's more concerned these days because they have a boy at home who is on kush, who is an addict, who act out, so maybe their parents are also on kush, they're acting out. And you have functional addicts as well, where you have, you know, your boss might be somebody who is actually taking what's called the local name for it is flex, but it's called cocaine. You have your boss, they're actually functional addict. They need cocaine to survive. They need cocaine to work. They need cocaine to function. And you have the young girls in clubs nowadays. You see them passing around MDMA's, ecstasy. Opioid is actually on the loose in this country, and all of these drugs that have harmful effects, they have harmful side effects, and they're destroying the population. And you ask yourself the question, where are we heading to? Where is the next generation heading to? Who are the people that are supposed to lead this country and lead institutions and lead change? Most of them are on drugs. We're killing the human resources. We're killing the specialization. So in essence, it's actually a touchy subject, and everybody must be concerned. And so, when the issue about the MV Akonian, you know, was became an international news, it was reported all across over 10,000 publications across the world. Of course, everybody became concerned. Everybody was like, "What is going on now?" The international community is pointing fingers. The international community is concerned. What is the government doing? And I would say, I would categorically take a position that this government took light of it when it first came in, the news first came out. They didn't respond as we would love and want them to. I think for a couple of days, for like 3 or 4 days, nobody said anything. The Ministry of Information didn't say anything. I mean, they would argue that, okay, behind the scenes, they are, you know, gathering information, they are putting together the resources. That would be the argument, and I mean, it would fly. But to the common Sierra Leonean, we want immediate response, because if such a news is taking hits on the on social media and on national news and international news, then we have to respond equally. Simply because once the news starts going out, Sierra Leoneans start experiencing difficulties. When you go to airports, you want to transit, or you want to go to other countries, because you're from Sierra Leone, you're subjected to extreme scrutiny, subjected to embarrassment. You have to strip search you, they have to pull you aside. And all of those are as a result of trust, because you guys are on the news. You know, people react and take things differently. And let's not forget, we're a third world country. We are not the United States. We are not the European countries. You know, and why I'm saying that is because based on the report that came out, they're accusing Sierra Leone as being a transshipment hub, meaning it did not actually come from Sierra Leone. We did not manufacture it, but it passed through, you know, port systems and it passed through maritime systems. And so they're pointing the fingers at us, but the bigger conversation should be the source, where it actually came from, where it was manufactured. And the other bigger conversation should be who is consuming all of that, where is it going, who are consuming all of those tons, you know. And the fact of the matter is it was all going to Europe. They are becoming the growing consumers of cocaine all across the world. But you see how the conversation has shifted, because we are a third world country, so they'll point the fingers at us. Oh, it was your fault. And then it became a global news. So it was the responsibility of the government to have stepped in and, you know, say, okay, you guys are hold on. You guys are accusing us of this and this and this. We are doing our investigations. Be careful what you put out there, because it might have a negative effect on our image. And we needed that response, but the government failed us on that. They eventually responded, I think 4 or 5 days after. But I think much is not done as yet to this moment.
What do you expect governments to do beside for many people? In fact, the press release initially from ONS was not speaking anything.
Yeah.
And the second aspect has to do with just after also saw a press conference, you know, last week called by the police, where in the Office of National Security updated that by their own records, it's not what the other people are saying.
Yes,
for them, it has to do with other items as mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, clearly we needed like a robust answer from the government. Look, the Spanish authorities, they're providing convincing evidence, right? They have evidence that it came from Sierra Leone. They have evidence that the drugs were loaded from Sierra Leone. They have evidence that this vessel is actually a Sierra Leonean vessel. They have all this evidence. They have you know, all these details. I think what we're expecting from the Sierra Leone government is to you know, face the Spanish authorities and say, look, this is a situation we have counter evidences of what you're presenting. These drugs were not loaded here. Where is the manifest? This is the manifest. You track exactly where the boat came from, because all those vessels have transponders. They have international GPS system that tracks their their movement. And Sierra Leone is part of the maritime laws that waters can be used as it's an international transportation route. So boats use it. So obviously they will, you know, they will just dock here. And in fact, they docked here and they loaded, according to the reports, they loaded palm kernels, banga. And so present all those evidences to the Spanish authority, counter their evidences and tell them, look, as far as we are concerned, as far as our security systems are concerned, this is what we have. And I mean, you have to make a case. And in fact, I would even go further. Like send a representative, somebody from ONS or somebody from I don't know, from the military or police or maritime association. Send them with our evidences to the Spanish government. Present our evidences. Let's see what they have. There has to be that synergy, that collaboration, and we haven't seen that. And as far as I'm even concerned, well, as far as I know, the DEA and Interpol were involved in this crackdown. Why were they conducting an operation and they did not tell us? There's a break in communication somewhere. Something is not adding up. And the international community, they are colluding. They seem like they're colluding against Sierra Leone. And to be honest with you, Sierra Leone, they're trying. I feel like we are being railroaded. What I mean by that is, Guinea has been also accused of transshipment. Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Mali. This is not the first time. Mauritania. We're all being accused of, you know, being the transshipment hub for drugs, right? But you see how we are being blackballed and blackmailed. I'm not condoning drugs. I'm not condoning what is happening. I'm just stating the hypocrisy of the international, agencies that are supposed to protect everybody and every citizen. They seem to be taking sides in all of this and throwing Sierra Leone under the bus and making us look bad. So it's also on the part of the government to say, okay, why are you conducting a raid without informing us?
In fact, those raids came as a surprise to every other Sierra Leonean. How worrying is that? Yeah,
it's worrying. It means that the image we have now out there is not good for us, and it has a very negative effect. It's reflective of us here, how we live, and even our association outside of Sierra Leone. It would have a far-reaching effect. I would suggest. But on the other hand, which I will speak from, we all know that countries like Mexico, right, they have the most powerful cartel in the world, the Sinaloa cartel. Drugs come from Colombia, but you don't see Mexicans being treated differently. You don't see Colombians being treated differently. You don't see all these guys treated differently. So, I mean, and we all know exactly the growing consumer population right now. They're all based in Europe. That's where the drugs are. Mm-hmm. Even in Germany, there was an operation conducted somewhere late last year, and they caught over 40 tons of cocaine. Right. Another. Now they are so high tech now, they're using what's called unmanned submarines, right? Which was also caught by the Spanish authority in the Spanish waters. So, but you don't see them condemning and throwing them under the bus and conducting all this. It's only, why are they picking us? Why are they picking up on just only Sierra Leone? So the government, I think something has to be done by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, as well as the interagencies need to come together and see what's happening with Interpol and see how we can coordinate and collaborate and get this issue and fix it.
Why is government, or the silence of government is also a concern to many people in relation to what is happening currently?
It is. I agree. I agree. When you are silent about issues like that, it's like you're complicit. It's like you know exactly what is happening and you're hiding things, and it doesn't look good for us at all. I mean, let's not, we have what's called elephants in the room, you know, the issue of Omar Sharif, aka Just Lydikas, right? Which is an ongoing situation. We all know what's happening in the diplomatic stage. It's basically, that whole situation is now international news, which is affecting our relationships with countries like, you know, the Netherlands. I mean, it's no secret what's happening there, but I'm sure, like I said, it's a dicey situation, because one would even ask that question. You guys have all the sophisticated face recognition software in the world. You guys have all the sophisticated security system. How did Just Lydikas escaped from, from the country? You would ask that question. Exactly. Yeah. How did he escape with all your security systems? And even to make matter worse, a drug lord that is worth millions of dollars, you put a bounty on his head for $200,000. Are you kidding me? Are you actually serious about catching this guy? $200,000? The guy is worth millions of dollars. If you catch somebody like that, right, he can offer whoever caught him $100,000, or sorry, $500,000 or $1 million, and they can let him go for free. So you are telling me that this guy is the most wanted, was wanted for, you know, crimes committed, killed or murder and stuff like that, and you are putting a bounty of $200,000. Something is not adding up here. And so I'm not defending the government for not handing him over. I mean, that's a diplomatic and political issue. I'm just stating the hypocrisy in all of what's going on, so that people can see both sides. It's bad for us as Sierra Leone, but also the guys that are pointing the finger. Why are you pointing the finger when it all started from your side? You haven't controlled what's happening in-house. You've just exposed your security lapses.
How can government hand an individual already two names to one individual, just for the people of Netherlands, but back in Sierra Leone we have Omar Sharif.
Yeah.
Same face but different names.
Different name. Yeah, it's a diplomatic. It's a touchy diplomatic subject, and let's not forget that diplomatically we don't have any formal extradition treaty with the Dutch government, and as a result, you cannot extradite. You know, we don't have the authority to request and they just give, right? That's exactly what they are kind of like negotiating right now. I mean, from my understanding, the Minister of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice cancelled, I think, 2 meetings that was set. For some reasons, I don't know the full details why it was cancelled, but we cannot just hand over somebody from this country over there. I mean, they did it. The Dutch did do that. They responded in equal when I think this government asked that they extradited somebody within their protection, and they refused. And so it's a diplomatic ding-dong battle. You just have to sit down and enjoy it as a Sierra Leone. And the only thing is, the government needs to do more to protect us, our image internationally, and protect other Sierra Leoneans that don't really care about what's happening in the State House. We don't care about what's happening in Parliament. All we care about is going about our businesses, doing our things, raising families, and fending for ourselves. That's what most people care about. So do not get those people entangled in what's happening at the top. That's all I'm asking for from the side of the
So let's talk around again the selling of our own ports in relation to this whole, transshipment. How close the government internally, even while silent on other issues, but again, actions needs to be taken. What's your view in relation to the view of other selling, and that there should be a restructuring or overhauling of that, where actually this whole thing emanated from?
That's a good question. And one thing that one thing that is clear based on all of that, what's happening is we have so many security lapses. Our security needs to be, look, we do have a naval wing in the military, but I don't think they have gunboats, right? I don't think they have surveillance units with boats that fool the sea at night or patrol the seas at night and monitor what's happening. I don't think they have the resources. I don't believe so. If they do have those boats that are there, I don't think it's enough to really patrol the seas at night. We should be able to. The military wing, the Navy wing of the military, they need enough resources to be able to protect our waters. Not only that, ONS reported last year, it's actually in the public, that they recorded over 100 border infractions in our country. Cambia, look at what we are losing. We are almost losing Yenga. Look at what's happening in Cambia. Look at what's happening in other areas of other entry points. Kailan is one of the most porous. They have the most porous. People move from Liberia to Kailan every day, right? No checks, no balance, no nothing, right? These are all, it's a telltale signs that we need to do more to protect our border crossings. And what happened at the ports clearly shows that whatever, people can come in with their vessels, load whatever, and then move it out without any proper supervision, any proper assessment, any proper
because
security.
the Spanish are saying, the transshipment is so in direct link to, selling, but the government is saying, no, by our records, these are not the items we recorded.
The government would argue that when the ship came in there, and all they did was just load the palm kernels. That would be the argument. But the Spanish authority would argue, why didn't you search, strip search? Because let's not forget also that when according to the Spanish reports, they had to broke into like a safe or something where the armed guys were guarding the tons of cocaine. They were actually in a safe that was sealed, right? And this is the actual fact. So which means they would ask the government, why didn't you strip search this boat? Why didn't you conduct, and that exposes our security lapses here as a nation, and it's not a good sight for us.
Okay, continue to be with us, Moko Esmangura, a TV host and business consultant, talking about the effect of recent development in relation to Sierra Leone, the aspects of a transshipment of for drug-related issue. Let me bring in again Silvanos. How could you ensure that, because it appears by the press conference hosted by the university, they are not even minding that report, so it's likely they could not even look into those recommendations? How do you think they could adhere now that even they're asking now for the demanding an apology from you as an organization?
So first and foremost, the apology is never coming, and there can't be a restructure. These are professional positions, and we have a good working relationship with the University of Sierra Leone. This is not our first engagement with them. They have a responsibility to go by our recommendations, and when I say they, I mean the leadership of the University of Sierra Leone. So we are only taking our time to set the record straight that contrary to how it is being presented, their reaction, official reaction to our report, which was not as required, we were expecting a management response from those recommendations, which I believe they could have done at this stage. But what they now put out to the public, in as much as it has words like apologize and retract, it is in effect agreeing with every one of the 6 recommendations. This is plain English. And this is to settle the nerves of the public and to let them know that they know we've done a good job. They know we didn't go there to vilify anybody. They know we are there for the best interest. And to reassure the public that they have every reason to go by those recommendations. Best practices recommended are to be actioned. If they fail to, there is always a next level. action that the commission can take. So we can't have a fight. We've never had a fight with any public institution in this country. We are not going to have a fight with the University of Sierra Leone. They have come out.
You had a fight with Parliament though.
It was not a fight. It was not a fight. I think that had to do with what came out to the public between a member of Parliament and the commissioner. And they had their engagement. And you know, when we communicate to the public, we know we are aware of the duty we owe to the people of this country. And we will not be cosmetic with it. Because posterity will judge us. If the things we've stated that are not working well in the university are a facade meant to make some people feel good and others feel bad, history will judge us. The commissioner is a very young person. He's my age mate. All of us that are Sierra Leoneans, we've had a 26 years journey in the fight against corruption. And we will have several years more with the objective of continuing to improve this place when it comes to transparency and accountability. So there are decisions we take at the commission. Emotions have no place in it. It has to be based on fact. And this decision is one. So for example, we cannot control how people will interpret what has happened. Those who said they've been vindicated, I am here to indicate clearly that nobody was indicted based on the report. Nobody has even been asked to pay a shilling based on that report. So there is no straightforward corruption allegation. But I'm equally here to state again that there are practices that could have happened between 2021, 2023, and possibly happening now that are no good.
Okay, there is this also debate around that they were expecting some recommendation in relation to maybe an apology from the university and compensation for these individuals that were actually affected. Many people lost their job during that investigation.
And the recommendation in that regard is that we have said, reactive recommendation 5 or 6, that in as much as there is nothing wrong with the university empaneling internal investigation committees. That's fair. Any institution can do that. Many institutions have done that. What we realized went wrong was the process. That persons of interest to that investigation or those investigation committees at the report we have, because I am told that some more committees were set later. But the initial report that they came to the public with, we did some investigation, did not give ample time to these people to respond. And that's one thing we picked out. That you may have discovered things that are not going right, things that are wrong, but did you give them enough time to respond? So that's an issue of fairness.
There was no fairness.
Thank you. That's the word we use. So we recommended that in the future, if they are doing internal investigations, let them pay heed to the natural rule of justice, fairness, and all of those things. And hearing the other side, giving an opportunity. It doesn't mean that the opportunity will be till infinity.
They lost their job as a result of that investigation. Is it not appropriate again for them to go back to their previous jobs?
And the English
and you will not recommend that.
And the English language we use to review the actions they are taking with fairness in mind. We cannot at this stage go back to micromanage University of Sierra Leone. We have a mandate. Our mandate is where we see administrative lapses and frailties to come with recommendations that will forestall or ameliorate those situations. This is what we've done. So if they are going to review, which is our recommendation and which we know they can and they will, then the review will be in line with what is fair, what is just, and what is reasonable in the circumstances given. But indeed, the way the investigation happened is one of the problems we have with the University of Sierra Leone, and we've recommended what should be done, and we recommended what they ought to do in every of those concerns. So we have not come, like I stated earlier, to say this was wrong, this was right. Okay, we have come to say the university must get together and correct what happened.
As we round up, let's talk around what do you think we'll get out of this? What many people are referring to, a messy situation.
Yeah, I think the government needs to be proactive and in terms of responding to some of these accusations coming from international agencies. We shouldn't take them lightly. And the reason why is because of our position. We are not in a position of strength internationally. What I mean by that is when countries like Spain speaks, the world hears. Everybody, the ears perks up, and it goes a long way. And so we as the nation from a position of weakness should be very proactive in terms of the way we respond and take these things seriously. To protect our image, because they owe it to the people of this country. They owe it to us. They owe it to all of us. Because, like I said, not all in our government, not everybody. Most people don't care about their business. They just want to go about their business, and so they have to be proactive about the way on the way they respond, their response time, the way they take up these issues, the way to demonstrate their seriousness in curbing this issue of drugs. I mean, when the president came out in 2024, I think, yes, and he said there's a state of emergency on all drugs. I think, yeah, and that we liked it, we loved it, and we saw at least some semblance of effort into it. That's what we want to see. We want to see their seriousness in handling and curbing this
okay, thank you so much, Moko. Dr. Sagbori, let's talk around them. How will the team, it's likely there must be recommendations on the way forward. How do you think you can also operationalize some of the roles you think you could play as medical practitioners together at this, this triple zero?
Yeah, so in our media congress that we are going to have, we are going to, of course, engage. We're going to do some mentoring. We're going to go around in some health facilities in Kenema that we are going to do some mentoring for the health workers that are working in those communities, and then we are also going to have speakers from ministry come to the conference, talk to us about how we are going to go about, achieving this 000, and then we're also going to have some symposium on those topics.
Okay, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this afternoon. Sylvanos from the ACC, Dr. Berry from the Cellular Medical and Dental Association, as well as my colleague who is a TV host and business consultant, Moko S. Bambura, has been providing insights into drug-related and other social issues across the country. Before we go, a reminder of our quote of the day, and it's from Deepak Chopra, an internationally renowned author, and it says, "Always go with your passions. Never ask yourself if it's realistic or not." Thank you so much for watching the podium, and goodbye.